Do you wanna know what's going round? See what's the talk of the town on Real Talk on the radio today.
And welcome to Talk Radio 97.5 FM. This is John Rawlings, live from Northport, Florida. Special shout out to Remax Palm Realty for being part of our emergency broadcasting system. And thanks to the city of Northport for setting up the, I don't want to say agreement yet. What I want to call it is a partnership to get out the emergency broadcasting information to the citizens of Northport in this very stringent time of our station, the citizens feeling the pressure of hurricane situations, and we're right in the middle of hurricane season, so all these things matter, and communication out to the citizens of Northport is the key during any emergency situation, and we are dealing with that with the city, and it's all for the citizens of Northport. I've got a very special guest in the house, Mr. Jim Cooler. How you doing, buddy? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How are you doing? How are you, sir? Yes, sir.
John, can you hear me?
I can. You're kind of coming through a little different. Hold on one second. I'll do a quick sound adjustment here.
John,
Are you playing this? Are you playing this in the background? Are you playing this in the background? Hey, Jim, are you there? Jim, are you there? Hey, Jim, log out and log back in. I'm gonna test him real quick. Sorry about the delay. Don't know why that happened. Trying to figure it out as we're sitting here live on the air, adjusting. Can you hear me, Jim?
John, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, now you can.
No.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, very good. So give everybody a quick upview of who you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you give everybody a quick update of who you are?
Okay. Yes, I'm Jim Kohler. I'm a candidate running for Charter Review Board in District 3. I was a native from Rochester, New York, and we basically got chased out of New York, and we moved down here to the free state of Florida. And I saw something at the Charter Review Board that I didn't really like, and that was that the my sitting opponent was not voting for the people. He voted against the people, and it made sense. It was a common sense. On the hazmat team, fire investigator, for New York State. And
Jim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So turn your
Number
turn your sound off on your feed.
First careers. Turn my sound off.
Turn your sound off on your feed, please.
Okay. Yep. I tried to jump around a little bit just to get.
So we're delayed on the feed. Sorry about that, folks. We're just having some technical difficulty, and I'm trying to correct it. So your feed is turned off, Jim. You're live on the air. Go ahead.
Okay.
So start all over real quick because we had some cut in, cut outs. I don't know why the internet. I think it's on your end. I've done everything on my end, and I've got a strong signal. But give a quick overview again. Just go into why you're running because of the sound and the quality. I want everybody to have a fair assessment of why you're running for office and
Right.
and who you are.
Hi, I'm Jim Kohler. I'm running for Charter Review Board in District 3. I moved down here from Rochester, New York. I consider myself a New York refugee. And that's partially because we were chased out of New York because of all the other regulations they were putting in place. And we just prayed about it and God said, go to Florida. So we did. And we came down here to Venice. We met some friends, or had some friends that already lived down here. They showed us around, and everything was great. We had the great school, and grade school had the CROSS program for my son, and a great free state. So that's how we chose Florida. I've been a firefighter for the past 20 years, and I was also on the hazmat team and the New York State Fire Investigator too. I was trained in New York State Fire Investigator. So I have a very diverse background in a number of different things, including geotechnical work, industrial engineering, quality assurance, you name it. I mean, I even went back to school for HVAC. So it's lots of different things. I've done handyman work, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, finished carpentry, like I said, HVAC, you name it. So a very diverse background.
So you've been an integral part of a lot of things that are out there in different job aspects, right?
Yes.
So where does that leave you in what you're attempting to do now as becoming an elected official?
Well, I think it actually leads right into it because I've been on a number of different boards too. One of them was the Eternal Christian Center for almost 10 years. And I helped them through the whole process of getting or developing more of their property. And we had the infrastructure set up and had it all planned out. And then I ended up leaving. But they're still progressing with it. And there are a number of other boards I've been on, and it seemed to fit right in with what I saw with the Charter Review Board, where my opponent, he chose not to vote in favor of the people when we had 8 people get up and state a very reasonable request to change the charter on 7.1A. It didn't, that section of the charter didn't make any sense because it said anything that issued as a change to the charter. So it didn't make any sense. So, and the 8 people got up and asked him to strike that out. And he said, no, I just vote whatever way the chairman votes. So it was kind of, that kind of got me started into like, well, wait, what's this guy doing here? Because this doesn't make sense. So I wanted to, I was willing to jump in and run for this position. I think I can bring, I can bring a number of different values to this position. I'm a Christian. And a lot of people say that doesn't say anything, but I tend to think it does. So I'm a follower of Christ. I do support truth, which is what I'm seeking out in all of my questions that I've asked him, and a number of them haven't been answered. I have a man of integrity, and I want to be the people's voice. I want to be your voice, rather than just be a puppet up there, somebody else playing the strings for me.
So what is it that the Charter Review does?
John, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. What is it that the Charter Review Board does? What is it that the Charter Review Board does?
The Charter Review Board is, this is something I've had to do a lot of research on. It's basically our county constitution. It establishes the laws and rules of our county. These laws and rules, they can't go against our state constitution or our U.S. constitution. But we're one out of 20 counties within the state of Florida. There are 67 counties in the state of Florida. We're one of 20 who actually can have their own charter. And it's a lot more than just establishing your own rules, because you have a lot more say in what goes on, because everything's being established right here in your home county, where the other 47 counties, they have to go up to Tallahassee and they have to basically lobby in Tallahassee to get anything changed. So it's our county charter, and there are a number of different regulations and guidelines and rules that we can follow within this charter that we can put right into place. I mean, it's basically our home rules, and it's what gives us our own ability to make our own laws. And the unique thing about Sarasota County is that we can actually be voted in. We're the only county out of all those 20 counties that still have a charter that can still vote, that the people can still vote on who can actually be on the Charter Review Board.
Awesome. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes here, Jim. I want you to step away from your phone. Go ahead and hang up. Go ahead and hang up for me, and then try to come back on with the visual again. Go out, sign back in, and I'll take it from here for a couple minutes until you come back into the green room. I see you there now. Let's give this a shot. So go ahead and hang up the phone. Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So you sound much better. Everything is much better. So, Robin, give me a heads up out there and let me know if Jim's visual is good for you, and also if the sound is better. We just had some technical difficulties. We had to make some adjustments. So I appreciate everybody's patience. And she said, yes, everything is good. So go ahead. And now they can see you visually, Jim, and they kind of know who you are. And I appreciate you adapting to the quick change here because of the technical side. But with the election so near, what is it that you want to tell people about why it's important to vote, but who it's important to vote for?
Well, there are a number of different reasons why I wanted to run for this position, and it's I wanted to run for this position to be able to speak the voice of the people. That's the main thing, because I saw my opponent, and he wasn't doing what the citizens asked for. I mean, they asked him to make a change to the charter, and he said, "I'll go vote whatever way the chairman says." The other difference is that he's also it seems like he's for the the large developers, and I'm not necessarily. I am for large developers if we can do that with a very common sense approach to the infrastructure and other things that are necessary. Does that make sense? Hang on.
Yeah, Jim, that makes
Okay.
it makes good sense. As we go through these elections, we've got, I believe it's the 20th is the deadline, right, for vote?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the importance of people getting out to vote. I don't want you to highlight yourself here, but the importance of people voting. Because one, you're on the screen, one, you're on the show, and people know you're a candidate. But what is the importance for the citizens to understand about the importance of voting for those people out there that don't vote?
Well, it's our God-given right to be able to vote on whoever we want to appoint or elect, not appoint, elect in different positions. So it's actually written right in our Constitution, and it was written in there by our founding fathers. They wanted to make sure that we sustained our freedoms from everything we could. Thomas Jefferson said, or actually it was Benjamin Franklin that said, we have a constitutional republic, and now the question is, can we just keep it that way? Can we keep it? That's the real question, because it's a constitutional republic. We aren't necessarily a democracy, but there's a sense of democracy in our voting system. And I'm a firm believer that if we don't have an election process, a fair election process, then we don't have our country.
And all that being said, those are things that people should know anyway. So how about some encouraging words for people who haven't voted for a while, haven't voted at all, but need to come out now?
There's no better time than right now, because this is the most important election, not just the primaries, but the November election, either one. But we need your votes on August 20th to try to get people in there and get the right people. There are a number of different websites out there. There are a number of different voter guides. There's actually even a fake voter guide out there that somebody made up, and it's all for the large developers. And it just doesn't make any sense. When we created the original voter guide, and it's with all of the grassroots, the America First, the patriot type candidates. Now, I can't say every candidate on this voter guide is perfect. I mean, it was voted on by two different groups of people. Each of the people that were on the voter guide were interviewed. It was an extensive interview, so it wasn't just an initial just a whim. So there was a lot of thought process that went into this, and a lot of good discussions. But that voter guide can be found at votesrq.com if you want to go and check that out.
And it gives some good references, right? And
yes.
So I always like to say this, and I've said this for 7 years of doing the show now. The importance is to get the mindset of voting. It is also very important that you understand who and why and what you're voting for. So I touted, just go vote. Just get used to people who haven't voted. Just go vote. Go vote. It's a responsibility of yours. Go vote. Then I've come back with it's an educational thing. Go get education. Go get involved. Be part of the process. Understand that your vote has consequences. And so I think the trend of getting people to understand that voting matters is the first thing. So votes count. Tallahassee looks at votes different per city, per capita. They do. They analyze things on awareness and importance and visitations, and they do. And people need to understand that. But at the same time, they also want the voters to be educated, well informed, understanding what's going on. And that's why all these guides are put out there. That's why you guys are all over the place educating people about what you're standing for, and your community engagement that you do is very important too as a candidate, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We've had a lot of different opportunities to engage with the community, and it's been very enlightening, very educational, and it's gives us hope that we can actually win this election. There might be some cheating involved. We don't know. We can't tell right now, but we're trying to limit that as much as possible. I know that there are a couple of groups within the Venice area that are actually trying to do a lot bigger things with the entire nation and the voting. So that's a whole nother avenue as far as the nationwide vote, and that would come up November 3rd or November 5th. But there are lots of different things we can cover. But it was very encouraging just to interact with the different people, discuss with them. I've been out to a number of different sessions and had discussions with them afterwards, and they loved it. I loved it. So
I'm gonna go to a comment that Robin Sanventite made, which was, it's about motivating our young population or first-time eligible voters. I can't disagree on any of that, and that I think that comes back to the original thought process of just getting people in the attitude of voting. Pushing somebody to go vote is a big thing.
yes.
In voting, they feel like they've been neglected. They feel like they've not been part of the process. On the other side of it is, the statement, and I say this, the statement is one vote doesn't matter. Well, we have found out through the last several cycles of voting that votes do matter. That we've had city commissioners who've won by 1 or 2 votes, and things had to be recounted, and that happens all over the nation as things happen, whether it be manipulation or whatever you were talking about. I just think it's the responsibility, first off, of all of us as citizens to encourage everyone to go vote, because their voice and their vote matters. On top of that, I think the educational pieces that are put out by special groups, we've got more social media engagement now than ever. We've got all kinds of information that's out there, and with all of that, I think it's more important for everybody to still do their own research and make their own decision with the value of the vote that you hold, and without telling someone how to vote. But I think the community engagements that you guys have done, can you kind of talk about what you've learned from the citizens when you're out doing the community engagement?
Well, it plays directly into what you just said as far as the voting guide and how to do your own research. That's one of the things I've learned, because I don't know it all, and I don't claim to, and I'll just continue to ask questions to try to understand exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and what else we can do to accomplish it. I have a very can-do attitude. That's what I want to do, and that's one of the things I found with interacting with some of the constituents. One said that they use the Freedom Index Have you ever heard of that? freedomindex.org.
I have not.
That's one thing that they use to help evaluate them on their candidate search. The other one is ballotpedia.org for Florida State Legislature. So I don't know if they go down as detailed as the local races, but it's been valuable with a lot of different aspects. And I just heard this just the other night, so I haven't had a chance to look it up. But those are two aspects that you can look up all the different candidates and try to identify which ones are better, which ones are worse. The nice thing about the Freedom Index is it actually gives you a ranking based on what their answers are to the different questions. and it also gives you some of their previous voting records.
Fantastic. So I'm going to put another question up by Robin. She said, sorry if this has been asked, but what do you say to people who say that this particular position is not that important? Do you respond, or how do you respond to that? So we kind of hit on your position and what the value is, but why is it so valuable that people vote for the position, and why is the position valuable?
Well, it's valuable only because we have our own chance to set our own rules. We could, and they're already set in some ways, but we can modify them slightly in either direction. Like with sewers, with garbage, with the sheriff, all the councilman, all the different aspects of that, they can all play into the charter review. And that's some of what we can actually establish as far as the guidelines and rules and regulations, as far as what they can do, what they can't do. And as far as the question regarding, this is really, in my words, would be more of a nothing burger. It all depends on how you make it. And if I want to provide some real push forward and some real drive for this entire process, but I want to do it based on what you guys say, because if I just do it based on what I say, then it's a dictatorship, and I don't want that. I want to give the authority back to the people, and I want to do whatever you want me to do. And that's why I think it's a valuable position, because the large developers, they want these positions to be puppets, and I don't want to be a puppet. I want to be based on whatever the people want, not whatever the developers want. So,
we look at charters all the time here in Northport, by the way. And we've gone through the LDC, we've done all these things, we voted it in. Explain why people should be paying attention to the position that you're seeking. There is a true reason. What is it?
It's to understand where your rights are being infringed on and where they're not. That's the main part, because there are a couple developments in the area that they took over a very large property, and they made an agreement with the city, and it's been questioned, and it's still being questioned, and there was nobody to vote against it at the time. But their plan was to put houses all over this property, and a lot of houses, like over 10,000 homes on this property. So shouldn't the 10,000 homes each have a voice on that property and what's being done with it? rather than just the developer when they initially develop that land. And that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I want to fight for. And I want to push for changes that are necessary, but not easily done.
So another question from Robin. The environment and the overdevelopment are extremely important issue. What are your views on how do you address this, if at all?
There is a clause in the charter that talks about the environment. It's very limited as far as the types of things that they've gotten into at this point. We could expand that. It depends on who else is on the charter review board and what their views are. But we're willing to put your voice up on the table and hash it out and try to address whatever it is that you have. But the major issue that I see is the water absorption properties of the different properties. Because if you make different parking lots or if you make roofs, that's all runoff water. That's all storm water, and it's got to go somewhere. You're taking up absorption properties of the soil absorption area. So it can't be absorbed in, so it's all got to accumulate and then run off. So that's why they always put in all these retention ponds in all the different communities. That's to fill up or backfill and use that for all the excess runoff.
So I'm going to ask you point blank, are you environmentally friendly?
I consider myself environmentally friendly, yes.
Okay, so the environment side of things are kind of a check mark when it comes to that. So I want to talk to you about the second phase of her question, which was the overdevelopment, because like every other word that gets out there in the community, I think overdevelopment can be misconstrued to development at all. We are still, as a city, we are not 50% built out yet. We're not even at 50% population estimated. So everyone who keeps using the word overdevelopment to me, well, if our goal as a city, as we were born, was 250,000 strong, and we're at 97,000 now, how do you not overdevelop if your goal is to build out at 250,000? Because development is part of the strategic plan.
Exactly. What is the plan? And they actually have I think it's a 2035 and a 2050 plan in place right now, which it's what is their master plan. And this is what the not the charter review board, but the development, I'm drawing a blank right now.
ULDC?
Yes. Yep. Land development. That's they actually evaluate, is it the proper zoning or is it not? And what should it be zoned at? It's not the responsibility of the charter review board, but we can help by giving them direction on what things are allowed, what things should be allowed, what things shouldn't be allowed.
So in the city of Northport, does the ULDC kind of trump the charter review, or do they work together?
Well, the charter review board is a county-wide charter. So that goes directly under the state constitution. So I can't see the city trumping the charter review board, but the charter review board doesn't have that much as far as specifics, as far as what they can and can't do on certain developments.
Okay.
But what we can do is we can limit the amount of development in certain areas, or we can add other areas which are designated as environmental areas.
And so there is, and I'm trying to get to the point where there is some importance of a charter review in connection to the city, in connection to the state, correct?
Yes.
If I were to put it that way. So the everyday citizen who's out here listening right now that doesn't truly understand what a charter review is for the county and how it affects the citizens of Northport, you just kind of highlighted that, but is there a difference between you and your opponent when it comes to how you look at things within that connection between the city and the county and the state?
That's a good question. I can't really speak for my opponent because I don't know exactly where he's coming from. He's only been in the position for the past year as of right now. So it's, and we only meet 3 times a year right now. But it's a great question just to try to understand what our aspects are and what is it that we want to try to do to try to help the cities and help the county and help the different not townships, the areas, because the different cities is the main area, but it's a Sarasota County. Like there's a large property around us that's all Sarasota unincorporated, and that's where a lot of the Charter Review Board, a lot of their regulations all come into play in that. But then there is Venice and Northport and other Sarasota, other cities in the area, and they have their own laws that are outside of the Charter Review Board. So it's independent of the Charter Review Board.
Well, I will tell you, I sent the link out to Michelle Pozzie. I don't know if there was technical difficulties on her end or not. I've texted her a couple times and I've not gotten any responses. So I just wanted to give you a heads up because you kind of helped set that up. And I wanted to let you know I wasn't intentionally not bringing her on for the viewers out there that are aware of that. But I obviously something has pulled her attention away and she wasn't able to jump on yet. So I'm waiting on a response from her, but I'm going to continue to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I told you that we would have this conversation. We're about about 37 minutes in. And you were kind of in this stage of, oh my gosh, how am I going to last 55 minutes? How are you feeling so far?
Oh, I'm doing great.
All right. So,
well, the reason why I wanted to bring Michelle Pozzie in is just because she has a lot of experience and she's also running for the state house or state representative and in District 74. And she had some interesting incidences out at the Anderson building today, which just transpired about an hour, maybe 2 hours ago, where the police were called and they actually helped identify some of the different people who were blocking traffic, stopping people, and some people might say borderline harassment.
And is that in a voting area? Yes,
that's at the Anderson building. That's right in Venice. And there were a bunch of people, a lot of them were firefighters who were out, stepping out and trying to push their fake voter guide on everyone that comes through. And we try to be much more, okay, well, here's a voter guide. If you'd like it, if not, that's fine.
All right, so I don't want to get off with just the one-sided amount of information on that, because I'm a proponent of there's 2 sides to every story, and somewhere in the middle there's some truths. So
I can only tell my side and what I've heard, and that's all what I've heard so far, because I wasn't there.
Right. So you're not throwing out rumor mill. You're just stating what's going on right now at the present time.
Well, I have seen some videos of some of the different people stepping out in front of the cars and stopping them, and they restricted one person from actually getting into a handicap spot and some other things like that. So it wasn't just a, a one-time occurrence. It seemed to be happening over and over again.
So I'll make a general statement. Come on, people, just chill out. If you're causing an issue, stop. It's not relevant. If you're not causing the issue, cool, good job. I think we all need to step back from all of the negative antics of the past and start promoting everyone get involved. Everyone has a vote. Everyone is allowed to vote. Stay out of their way. Don't interfere. These types of things are not helpful across the nation, let alone within our own communities. So let's use one word, respect. You give what you get. Show some respect. Show some dignity. Show some pride. If you're causing the issue, stop. It's not worth it. I'm going to tell you it's not worth it. And I'm sure Jim will agree with me. And I even know Robin and the rest of the listening audience is going to agree with that too, that things need to chill out and people need to feel the freedom of choice to vote and who to choose from without retribution.
Right. Well, I am an American first candidate, which means that I consider myself a patriot, and I'm also for the people. So I'm a voice for you guys, and I'm all for 110% our freedoms. And I've done a bunch of research into all the different things. I've even there was a confrontation up in Rochester, New York, that one of the final things that kind of straw that broke the camel's back, where our kids were being forced to wear masks in school, and it was a requirement, and it was considered a state mandate, but a mandate isn't a law. A mandate is a suggestion. So I went through that whole process, and we peacefully protested the whole thing. And it was a very confrontational situation where the principal came out and he threatened me. He grabbed my additional flags, which he's like, "Get out of here. Come on, you're getting out of here right now." And trying to get me out of here. And I said, well, I'm execute my First Amendment right according to the U.S. Constitution. And I'm a taxpayer, and I have 2 kids in the school, and we're trying to stand up for their rights, not just my rights, but for their rights. So that was one of the first times that I chose to jump in and be an advocate for somebody else.
And those times matter. We've got, I think we've got multiple issues up and down the coast. We deal with all kinds of issues up and down the coast, being a coastal line community. We're not directly coastline, but we get a lot of the effects of coastline, whether it be hurricanes or tropical storms or red tide. We deal with things in the state of Florida that are not just in Northport, not just in Venice and in our areas there, but in the water. Coming from other areas. It's crazy how, if you sit back and you look at things that we have to deal with as a community at all kinds of different levels, it is important to pick the right leadership to deal with these things. And while it's important to have the right leadership, it's also important to have people who do stand up for different topics, because swaying one's mind is one thing. But the first part of this conversation that led into standing up for rights was the behavior. So your behavior wasn't out of line. You were just standing up for the rights, and you were showing that to your child, and showing your child, this is how you do it. This, no matter how you looked at it, it was a teaching moment at the same time for your
Yep.
kid. And more parents need to take that stance, whether it be like one of Robin's favorites, the environment, or Warm Mineral Springs. Uh, she stands up, she says what she needs to say. The Chucks of the world, the Chuck Englishes, the other people that really just stand up and do the right thing. We need to have people like that on both sides, whether it's for a topic or against a topic. I think what's truly lost in today's world is we lost the ability to have a conversation. In your conversations that you've had with citizens, and this goes to another question that Robin brought up, and I'm going to take this one down for a second. What is the difference between you and your opponent?
There are a number of differences. Number one is my diverse background, because I started in the corporate world as a quality engineer, senior quality engineer, helping design teams design products that met the customer's expectations prior to ever having the product. And that included in the design process, the system process, and the manufacturing process, where it's common that most of the time they'd throw it over the wall and say, well, quality all ends up down at the manufacturing level, so we don't need any corporate quality engineers. And that's what I fell into. After 10 years, they said, well, yeah, you can move out to the facility, and you don't need to be a corporate quality engineer with the design team in corporate. So head out. And then I was let go shortly thereafter because they started moving everything overseas. And I didn't approve of that. I wanted everything to be US made as far as possible. And it's, there are a number of other aspects too. I'm a fireman. He's a police officer for, I think, 30 years. I don't know what else as far as background and other things. He hasn't said much. I have asked him, and it's been very limited as far as what it is that he brings to the table. But I've been on a number of different boards. I have a very diverse background in a lot of different things. I can understand a lot of different things, including the water runoff. I was a manager at, I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but it's a geotechnical company, and they did soil evaluations, and I was a materials manager, and I helped them set up their entire systems for that, for the soil evaluations, the concrete evaluations, the asphalt evaluations. So I know how much water can run through concrete, how it can run through asphalt, basically zero. But you actually can make it soil permeable, and but it takes more to try to make sure that you don't clog it up and other things like that. But there are other things too that I have a very open mind. That's the main thing. Because like I said, I want to bring your voice to the table, and I'm willing to entertain whatever change that is that you want to bring to the Charter Review Board.
In talking with the citizens, with the engagements that you do, what are one or two of the hot buttons that you find to be out there right now?
Number one is probably the overdevelopment. That's
it seems to be everybody's hot button.
That's a major hot button right now. Number two is probably it falls right in line with the overdevelopment, and it's the water runoff and the flooding just happening as far as the hurricane. So. And I relate that back to the overdevelopment.
So Robin's comment here, I don't think it's a question, but I'll read it. the people are looking for integrity and honesty and real solutions to what our residents face. I know that we've talked about that. You've kind of highlighted basically what she said in this with some different wording, but you talked about your integrity, you talked about the honesty, you talked about your background. What I'm kind of interested in how a citizen can impact a change through Jim at the review board. How do you want them to engage with you? What do you want citizens groups to do to communicate? What is it that you're looking for from who you work for, the citizens? What is it that you're looking for from them?
I would say feedback or input, because a lot of people don't realize that they can provide input to this charter review board in a public hearing or public session of the entire meeting, and they can make suggestions to propose different changes. But in addition to that, we can also have other meetings outside of that. We could have a cup of coffee or whatever, and we can discuss some of the pros and the cons about each of these different topics that you'd like to propose, because some of them, frankly, might have already been discussed in the past, and they aren't going anywhere. And some of them, they have a potential of actually going somewhere. So it all depends on what the topic is and how important it is for the people. And that's where I would say each individual out there can get involved with the charter review board. They can come up, they can listen to the meetings, they can go back and they can review all of the previous meetings, because they're all videotaped and they're all on the SOE website. Actually, it's a Sarasota County website. So they're all recorded, I think, for many years. And just get involved. That's the main thing.
Get involved and be active.
Yes.
Robin's going to throw some kudos out there, because I know that Robin is very active. She sees me out there doing my thing extra on the side. She does a lot more with going to all the city meetings and being a very outspoken individual that way. We need more representation, whether you, and I say this all the time too, because there are voices out there that get heard because they're against something. The people who are for something never speak up. And that's, I think, the most damaging part of the process, is the voices that are unheard because they don't think they have to speak, because it'll be taken care of. And then when there's a negative outcome because they didn't talk, because other people did, they're upset because the other decision was made. Sort of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing.
Right.
That it's important for everyone to be involved, isn't it?
Well, the other thing is that typically
and we have 2 minutes, but go.
Okay. We're designed to focus on the negatives. So it's whenever somebody says something negative, there have to be 8 positives to counteract that one negative. And that's a general rule. So it's just trying to understand what it is that's going on, and understanding how, or listening for what other people are saying, because a lot of times we let the positive comments, they just go right off to the side of us.
Right.
And we don't even take note of them, but the negatives we typically take note.
And so the naysayers out there, congratulations. I love it, because guess what? Your voice is being heard. the rest of you who are not active, who are not paying attention, and I'm gonna end this with something, because I was at the Northport Forward event last night, filmed it live, and I thought of something for every citizen to hear, and it's along this conversation line. We talked about property rights, and we talked about the city not sending notice personally. I'm gonna wake everyone up that thinks our city is not notifying, because the city came back last night with state regulations. And before everybody gets teed off that the city only followed state regulations, they didn't. They've actually gone over and beyond. They've done podcasting. They've done my show. They've done the United Tour. They've gotten this information out. And I think there's one tad bit of information that the group that's pushing the city to take the stance of, we didn't do enough. I think they have done enough. Could they do more? Yeah, certainly. I don't think you can ever make a statement somebody couldn't do more. But what I want you to realize is the citizens that had their voice and were heard and didn't like the outcome, that's one thing. The landowners, I'm going to wake you up for a minute. If you're a landowner and you don't check on the status of your property each and every year, at least once, shame on you. And it's not the city's responsibility to wake you up if something were to change with your status. I don't think the city says it like that, but I'm about to say it again. Wake up if you're an independent owner of a piece of property you paid for. It's not everyone else's responsibility to put that in check. It is not. So keep that in mind as you are representing the mass majority of us out here who are landowners, homeowners, who are active within the city. It's one thing to say they didn't listen to me and they voted a different way. It's another thing for everybody to be representing. They should do more, because what about the landowners who don't know? Stop asking that of the city and start asking that of the people who own the property. Why don't you know? You should know about what you own. The city doesn't tell you when to change the oil in your car. So don't make them tell you everything about the land that you haven't paid attention to for decades. It doesn't make any sense to me. And that is the real deal of the conversation that needs to be had. Landowners have responsibility of their property rights. It is not the city and their responsibility to go over and beyond to beg them to pay attention to what they purchased. That's just the real truth. Real talk, real truth. On that status, do you agree with that? And then we'll end the show.
I do agree with that. And I think it's actually even a little bit more important, because you said it with people having to not just understand and review their land use, but they have rights. They can do things on their property.
Certainly can.
That are outside of what everyone ever thought of. And it all comes up to their own imagination as far as what they develop their property into.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Thank you so much for being part of it. Thanks for jumping on today. When you talk to Michelle, tell her it's all cool. I know that she's probably distracted right now, wherever she's at, and she's doing what she needs to do. Just let her know that we did have her scheduled, and I tried.
That's okay.
But I do understand. So give her some respect back from me. Okay.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you, citizens, for listening in. This is John Rawlings with Real Talk Radio saying thanks. Have a great day and enjoy yourself, and share the video, because it is your responsibility to stay involved, get involved, and know who you're voting for. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, John.
All right, bye.